Meet PitchDB, the ultimate platform for speakers looking to make their mark on podcasts, conferences, and media outlets. PitchDB provides access to over 3 million platforms, ensuring you find the perfect avenue for your message. With AI integrations, your bios and pitches are tailored uniquely to each opportunity, giving you the edge you need. Join now at pitchdb.com.
Welcome to Your Brand Amplified, the podcast where we interview marketers, publicists, and brands to learn their stories, what makes them tick, and tips and tricks that make a difference. This is Annika Jackson, and today I have the pleasure of speaking to Frederick Cary. Frederick, I'm really excited for you to talk about what you're doing now, but how you got there, I think is the really important thing, because you are turning the idea of launching a company and venture capital and all of these angsty situations that many entrepreneurs have to deal with. So first of all, thank you for being here.
Well, it's a pleasure to be here. And how long is this show going to be? Because I don't know. I can tell you my whole journey, but we can kind of zip through.
Yeah, let's zip through then. Because you do have, you have vast experience as a CEO, as a chairman, as a managing director, working in finance. Did you always know, first of all, I guess, that you wanted to be an entrepreneur? Because it looks like you've had some of the push-pull that we all have where I'm an entrepreneur. Oh, but this job looks really good. No, I'm an entrepreneur.
Yeah. I actually became an entrepreneur really early, and it's not any glorious reason. It's just that I didn't think anybody would have me in corporate America, and I really had no choice. Oh. And so it wasn't that I ever tested that theory, but I just felt that I should do things on my own way, be my own boss, and try to build things that I could be proud of. And that's how I ended up taking that journey. And it's a journey. If any of you guys are wanting to get into it, it's a journey that never ends.
Right. It is. And that's something I don't think I really understood before I became an entrepreneur is all of in my family, we have educators and social workers and entrepreneurs, it seems. And I would see them start companies and then stop and then start and stop. And I was like, oh, did it fail? I didn't really understand the machinations of it. So you dove headfirst into it. What was that like? Did you plan out what your first business was going to be, or was it really organic?
My first business was, and some earlier stories of me went from taco chips to computer chips. My first endeavor was kind of accidental. I was living in South Florida, and I had a girlfriend living in San Diego, where I am now. And every time I came over here, it was tacos and burritos everywhere. And on the East Coast, we didn't really have them. And over here, there's a little company called Taco Bell that was really starting to grow, but was still pretty much on this side of the coast. And I convinced an older, 40-something individual to work with me and build up taco stands in Florida in the hopes that in a few years, Taco Bell would come knocking on our door. And so we built 70 stores in 3 years, and without calling them, they called us and acquired us.
Amazing.
Yeah, that was cool.
Yeah, that's more than a little bit cool to have the foresight of like, let's create this, and I'm going to make this a reality that they're going to call us and buy us out.
If we build it, they shall come. It actually worked that time.
Yeah, that's really unusual.
So, and since then, I had 10 other companies I've started, became an attorney in the middle of it for a decade. And then I got my MBA. After I took one of my companies public is when I got my MBA. Wow. The professors said I should be teaching the courses, but, it was really, really cool. And I highly recommend MBA programs to anybody because I was making a lot of the right decisions, but I was doing it by the seat of my pants. And when I took the MBA program, I realized some of the strategic rationale behind the decisions I was instinctivly making. It was cool.
That is really cool. And as we talked about before we got on, I teach grad students, but I'm also getting my MBA right now. So okay, yes, yeah, keep on doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fantastic. And that leads us to Idea Pros, which it seems like the simplest name, right? But you turn it on its head. So what took you from this world of navigating, starting up your own businesses, taking them public, selling them, right? Doing different things with each one to going, okay, there's something that is wrong with the system potentially, and I need to change that.
Yeah. It was Idea Pros, I wanted to be the last thing I do professionally. And I was looking for a market, just like all the other opportunities I found. I was looking for a market that was growing, but that had a big gaping hole in it. And I didn't think it was going to be entrepreneurship. But when you start digging into that model, people that have the greatest chance of succeeding in the entrepreneurship world are people like your students in your classes, right? They've gone to a prestigious school. And many of them are getting advanced degrees from those schools, and they know how to do the insider game, if you will, and they know how to reach capital that they all need. And they learn a lot more about decision making and how to play this long game of entrepreneurship. 95% of the rest of us, that's a 95% outsider market. We don't have that. We don't have that pedigree. We don't have those connections. We don't know what we should and shouldn't be doing. And yet it's all over social media. It's like the easiest thing in the world. Give a 20-year-old guy $500 and you'll be a billionaire in 3 minutes. So I decided that was really the place I wanted to go play. And then I looked at the solutions for outsiders in that arena. And all those solutions were based on giving them stuff. It's like, oh, you're not a doctor yet, but here's an operating room for you to go in and operate on people. And what they needed is expertise. What they really needed is a sophisticated co-founder. And that's what we started Idea Pros to be, is the co-founder for all these outside entrepreneurs. And we've had 100,000 applications to work with us in that light. So I think I found the sweet spot.
Oh, absolutely. What I found particularly, even in today's world, minority entrepreneurs particularly still have a really tough time finding funding or knowing how to navigate. I have one former client who's still a dear friend who in the Bay Area is trying to change the way healthcare is delivered. She does hyperbaric oxygen therapy and a number of other modalities and has created some patents. But she has had that syndrome where she's had to walk into a room with a white male, be taken seriously because she's a Black woman, right? A Black queer woman. And so there aren't a lot of spaces and places where she doesn't know the language. She doesn't know the insider information and how to structure things. And there's not a 101 for that necessarily. For you guys.
Well, there is a 101 now because of two things. I have programs that people come and either be our clients or co-founders with us, depending on how far the capital food chain you want to go, because you have to pay to work with us. Yeah. But I also have something that's free that would definitely help your friend and anybody else listening out there. And it's pitch.ideapros.com. Twice a month, I have a free 2-hour workshop that really gets into the down and dirty of understanding what investors really want, how they think, and how to make a really compelling pitch to them. And attending that is kind of the first step to having guarantee into Silicon Valley, because now, for some reason, I've gone up there and I've been the piece in between investors and startups, and I talk to both of them and let them know that we're all screwed up and we've all had problems, and we all wake up at 3 a.m. wondering what the hell we're doing with our lives, the investors and the startups, and I'm here to kind of put them together. And it's become a regular thing. I have brought 7 companies up there so far in just the last 2 months. I have another 8 I'm bringing up next month. And each time they're pitching to 50 to 100 VCs. Wow. And of my 7 companies that are brought up, 4 of them are already funded. So I think we know what the magic is. And again, pitch.ideapros.com. It's free, 2 hours, and I'll teach you the magic.
Wow, fantastic. I will definitely put that in the show notes and provide that as a resource. Probably I'll add it to my newsletter and tell my students about that.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So I'm going to hit it on all the different cylinders.
I did charge for that thing. No, it's free.
So you've been running Idea Pros for 8 years at this point. You said you've had over 100,000 people apply to go through. What does it look like for somebody to be successful in this process? What are some key factors that you might be looking for and have identified?
Yeah, 8 years, but the first couple I was trying to figure out what the hell to do. And then the next 3, I was doing it wrong. So I think I finally got the right model because, as you know, starting up anything, you're creating something that didn't exist before. And many times you're going to do it the wrong way in the beginning. And what I did is I was creating marshmallows instead of entrepreneurs, and because we were doing everything, all the heavy lifting, creating everything. And hey, just call us every couple of weeks. We'll let you know how far along we are. That was a mistake. But now with 100,000 applications and 400 projects, by the way, Where they've gotten to is they're just really starting to come out now. So it depends on how you measure success. To me, success is having an idea and being able to all of a sudden be in a position where you have a fully launched company and you're ready to take wings and fight that battle. And it's several of them have gotten funding at 2 to 5, in one case, $10 million valuation coming right out of the gate. And we're really starting to get some momentum and progress. So, but as far as if you measure success on like, are they killing it in the bank? None of them doing that yet. But then again, Facebook, 7 years into it, didn't have any revenue strategy whatsoever.
Yeah. To your point earlier, that's the thing we see so much of is this is the course that can change your life, right? Pay X amount of money to work with me. Yeah. Or yes, you can make it happen. And so quickly, most people, it takes a lot of time. Right. And even going from being an entrepreneur into working full time for somebody and then realizing I needed to go back out and be an entrepreneur and consult again, it's like I'm starting up again, right? Every move is a little bit different and you take the lessons you've learned, but a lot of the people who are selling these things, they are selling something that worked for them, but not necessarily something that's scalable. And so it sounds like you've really figured out this model through all of the iterations.
Yeah, look, you can't do it on your own. And to me, those courses and things that people offer, it's kind of like you having a course to go take your driver's test to learn how to drive. It's not going to make you a Formula One pilot.
Right.
And those courses will teach you how to drive, but it's not going to make you a kick-ass entrepreneur that knows the ropes, that has the connections, that has the wherewithal mentally, even more than cash-wise, to really see it through and to persevere through the pain and the torture and the fire. It's going to happen to every one of you that are listening or watching this. It happens to all of us.
What was the driving force within you beyond thinking that you were unemployable by somebody else and that you just had to start a business that has prompted you to start so many different organizations?
In a sense, I feel kind of like a painter, and when one painting is done, you go on to the next. And so with my companies, I had 2 that went public and I had 2 others acquired by public companies. And so move on to the next easel and paintbrushes and see what I can make next. So I love the creation process. And that's why, as an attorney, I was really good. He said, patting himself on the back, but I really was. I never lost a case. I was really good at it, but I never woke up in the morning happy and satisfied because I wasn't creating anything. And so that's why I went back to entrepreneurship. I just love that process.
Well, now you have the legal backing, so you understand when people all the contracts and processes.
I know there's no question pending, Your Honor, but I think, and people would say, oh my God, he was an attorney and he's going to use it against me. Having been an attorney has made me a much more reasonable person. And why? Because as an attorney, especially if you're a litigator, you have to understand both sides of the argument. If you go into court and you have your side wired and you're not thinking at all about what your opponent is going to say, they're going to kill you every time, no matter how strong your argument is. So you need to understand, you need to be empathetic to the other side. So you could screw them anyway in court, but outside of court, if you're empathetic to all sides of an argument, it makes you a better leader and it makes you a better person.
Yeah. Oof. I have other people in my life who were lawyers and then left for creative pursuits, but it does serve them well as well. So I love that you can use it to create more empathy for others.
Yeah.
So are these organizations that are coming to you asking for help, finding you through word of mouth, through entrepreneurship and VC networks?
First of all, the people that come to me typically are a man or a woman and an idea. There's no organization, there's no structure, their idea on a paper napkin, or God forbid, they already have a patent and everything, which makes it way harder for me. I'd rather have a raw idea. But they're really at the very first stage of germinating, and how they come to me is a mixture of ways, and it's changing over time. In the beginning, it was straight Google ads. Somebody would type in. One of the big mistakes that inexperienced entrepreneurs make is they go online, it's like, where can I get an app company? And they don't know anything about apps. They don't know about what they're really creating. They don't understand that an app is just a roadway to get your very valuable information to the people that really want it, right? It's just a road. And so my ads would pop up and I would say, modestly, you're about to make the biggest mistake of your life. Click here and find out why. And then we would tell them, you don't need an app, you need a business. You don't need an app development company, you need a co-founder to work with you. And by the way, you're getting ready to spend $150,000 on your app development. For less money than that, we can build a whole company with you. We'll be your partner, we'll be your co-founder, and have the app built too. And so it became a no-brainer. But now, I have over 500,000 followers on Instagram, and I am fairly well known in the podcast circuit, but now I'll be famous because of you. And and so we get a lot of word of mouth. And then when I go up to Silicon Valley, I'm up there every month and I bring, like I say, pitch.ideapros.com. I bring in several folks, and while I'm there, I'm also speaking to 250 startups and give them a speech about entrepreneurship. And so we get a lot of business from there as well.
Sure, yeah. And I imagine also you're working with people all over the world. I did an interview earlier today with somebody who is in Armenia right now.
No.
That's part of the wonderful thing about this format, right? Video conferencing, Zoom, whether it's Zoom or something else, is that you have the ability to help people and connect with people all over. Do you get a lot of people from other countries who are reaching out?
Oh, I want to ask you a question. Because Armenia, was that an entrepreneur?
Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah, we get people from all over the place.
He'd be a good person to connect with you, actually, for his business is called prelaunch.com, and he helps companies pre-validate the market research for their products. So I'll definitely connect the two of you.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah. Because I love that. I love people who are coming up with new ways for entrepreneurs to work more efficiently, more effectively together to be more successful.
Yeah. We're all outsiders. If you're an entrepreneur, you're an outsider in the sense that everybody, even amongst your friends, most of the time all your friends are 9-to-5ers and they think you're crazy.
They have no idea. They don't understand.
What are you doing work on the weekend? And so, put together a community like that is really good.
Yeah. Oh, so you have your free events and then you have the infrastructure, which I was looking at the website, and kind of walking through like, okay, what is it? So you have an application and then you become fractional co-founders. You help people figure out what if they come and they have the idea, they don't have any money at all. They know they have an idea that they think will change the world.
Well, first of all, if you think you have an idea that will change the world, stop. Because it's really hard to raise money when you go in and you tell investors like, I'm going to revolutionize the world. And, they have risk tolerance, but first thing they're going to ask you is how many revolutions have you led before? So, but if you have a really good idea and you don't have the capital, we also have a pre-seed fund that you have to have good credit and you have to be earning money. But we have a fund that you can get $100,000 to $500,000 and not have to repay any of it and not have to give up any equity. So it's a little complicated how it works. But if they see that you're fiscally responsible, then you can get that kind of money.
Yeah.
So that's available. Hey, Lily, do you know where that funding is? Is that funding.ideapros.com? Can you look it up and see? If it is, well, we'll let your folks know because that's a good way to get seed capital if you don't have it. Yeah, and it's funding.ideapros.com. But the other thing is, if you just go on ideapros.com, the very first thing you see is a free membership, the insider thing that's completely free. And with that, we give you all sorts of new stuff every single week. Wow. We have different webinars, seminars, and things that you participate in for free. And you'll get enough knowledge to be able to have the confidence to eventually go out and grab $50,000, $100,000 from friends and family. You'd be shocked how many people that you know that you don't think have any money will give you some money if you know what the hell you're doing.
Yeah, I think a lot of people would be shocked to hear that statement even.
Yeah. Let me give you one anecdotal story.
Yes, please.
We had these two brothers from Canada, and they came to us a couple of years ago with an app idea. They had no money. And I said, you know what? I'm going to train you for 2 weeks, and then I'm going to send you out to your friends and go raise money. You're going to need about $125,000 to do this. 10 days, they came back. They asked 20 people for money. 18 of them gave them money out of 20. They raised $150,000 in 10 days.
Oh my
gosh. These guys had no idea where they would raise a penny. So,
wow. Yeah, that is a powerful story.
Yeah.
I'd love to hear about one of the more unusual startups that you've worked with.
Well, I think unusual ones that turned into a really good story is a company that we started called Imagine Communications. And when Imagine Communications started, it was when HD television was first coming out. And the cable industry was in a really bad way because their cables that are thousands and thousands of miles all over America would only hold 1 megabit of data. And you needed 1.5 for HD. And so they were going to become the dinosaur, or they were going to have to spend billions to completely redo their entire infrastructure. And so myself and a couple of Israeli engineers got together and we approached the cable industry and basically said, we're building a technology that can have you do HD with your existing infrastructure.
Wow.
And basically they said, we'll buy tens of millions of dollars worth if you can do that. So we left and the engineers said, you're crazy. We can't do that. And so I said, no, we can do that. And 6 months later, they developed, and they're geniuses, they developed technology that quadrupled the capability. So not only were they able to do 1 HD, they were able to do 2 HD and 1 standard definition.
Wow.
And Imagine Communications now does probably $750 million a year and employees on every habitable continent. And over 50% of households in the world have our technology somewhere in the system. So that's a really good one. One of the IdeaPros ones is a company that never even got to launch. We had developed, the old wooden pallets that the world travels on. We developed, or our partner developed, and then we perfected a cardboard pallet system that was completely modular, weighed 1/10 of the weight of the wooden pallets, no splinters, no back injuries, no nails. And as we built that out, we got to the point where we were just getting ready to beta test it, and a private equity firm came along, snatched it up, and took it off our hands for a big multiple before it even got a chance to launch. So that's a cool story from that side of it.
That's a very cool story. And do you find that a lot of the companies that you're looking at and helping get off the ground are thinking about sustainability, better processes and systems that will help the world?
I think that one of the things that we focus on the most, because I also teach purpose-driven entrepreneurship. And so one of the things that we try to do is make better companies with better leaders. And so we find some element, while it may not be sustainability exactly in every case, we try to find and create companies that do things better with an intent that goes beyond the bottom line. And so a lot of our companies have an element of that in it. Yes.
I think it's a necessity today. And that goes really well into, not just how you put together funding and but also how you talk about the company, the brand ethos, and that sustainability or that impact factor is something that I know all of the younger generation are looking for in companies that they buy from, that they partner with.
It's absolutely true that statistically, and it's not even anecdotal anymore. Statistically, companies that have a purpose, that do something beyond just selling stuff, have a lot more loyalty. And I think the number is 24% greater revenue capabilities than otherwise. They have a loyalty factor that's something like 80% higher than a non-purpose driven company. And even companies like big, huge multinationals like Unilever, for example, they get something like 70% of their revenue from 4 or 5 products that really lead with trying to be environmentally conscientious. And so there are great reasons to be that way. And there's also selfish reasons to be that way, because that's what people want. You don't want people who are your customers, that you want people who go along with you because they believe in what you're doing. And that transcends customer to passionate advocate of your brand.
Yes, evangelist. Absolutely.
Yep.
And we all need a little more of that in the world today. So how long does it usually take once somebody maybe comes to one of your workshops, has an approved pitch, or, they fill out all the paperwork, they go through your system. I see there's different levels that you take them through to say, yes, okay, here's our stamp of approval. Let's work together. Let's get you let's launch. Like, let's figure out like the pre-launch and let's get you there. How long does it usually take?
Remember how I told you I screwed up in the beginning when we were, in the beginning, I thought we were going to take a year to 18 months and it would take 2 years, 3 years. We had a pandemic in the middle of it. It was a disaster. But now 6 months in and out.
Wow.
We've created a lot of proprietary AI things that we did, strategic documents, research, competitive analysis, those things that used to take us a couple of months, we can generate in a very, very short period of time and much more comprehensively than we were able to before. So we're incorporating more and more AI into our systems to not only make things faster, but also make them better and more predictable.
Yeah, I've been talking about AI a lot today because I'm actually helping put together some courses for the workforce development education, adult education sectors, because a lot of them don't have big marketing budgets. They don't have big teams, and they need to understand, instead of being afraid of AI, they need to understand how they can use it to simplify their processes, but also how do they put in the right information to get the right output. So it's not just the generic superlatives that, you can tell when somebody's written something in ChatGPT and not personalized it.
Yeah. In fact, as we position our organization now, basically it's HI over AI. It's, human intelligence riding on top of artificial intelligence to give it what it really needs to make it a home run.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really fascinating. Do you have a favorite, because I know you work with a lot of different people and I'm sure you don't want to say, but do you have a favorite type of entrepreneur that comes to you?
I actually do want to say it. I want to say it because everybody in the audience should hear this when they're trying to decide whether to become one. Our favorite entrepreneur, which is probably 10% of the people that have come to us, are the ones that just don't have give up in their system. That when we have delays, they say, how can I help? Instead of, why is there a delay? The people that take ownership and understand that this is incredibly hard, incredibly crazy, and that most people can't survive.
Well,
So in the entrepreneur world, almost all of us have imposter syndrome. That is, that we see it happening all around us and we're going to try it, but we don't think we deserve it. And so the very first roadblock we run into, we go, oh, I was right. And then maybe we'll scratch everything off of us and, dust off and run down the road. And then the next wall we run into, we're done. And not understanding that's part of the process. And that happened to everybody. That happened to Airbnb and to Google and to YouTube and to Facebook and to SpaceX and Tesla, all of them. Pick a company. It's happened to all of them. And we need the entrepreneurs that have that spirit to say, there's got to be another way to do this.
Frederick, though, did you ever have imposter syndrome? Because you had so many successes and you did talk about failures as well, but...
I still have it. I can't tell you the number of times I wake up at 3 a.m. in a cold sweat, wondering what the hell I'm doing, because this is a very, very difficult... Think about how stupid this is. Think about it. You know how hard it is to start one company. We're starting 400 companies with first-time entrepreneurs, and myself and my executive team, we're the daddies. We're the ones that everybody runs to whenever there's a problem. So you can imagine the number of fires with 400 startup companies trying to find their way in the world. So yeah, I have that all the time. Have I taken on too much? Is this something that's impossible? But because I'm as stubborn as the entrepreneurs that I admire, I'm still in the game and we're going to make it work. That's just the nature of the beast. It doesn't work this way. It doesn't mean it's not going to work some other way.
Yeah, I love that. Do you have a favorite quote that when you wake up at 3 a.m, a quote, a mantra, a motto, a verse, a meditation, anything that helps you reset your own mind?
Well, I don't have a particular quote. Well, maybe it is a quote, but it's just something that no famous quote or anything. When I get that way and I start overthinking and I'm stressed out and I can't get back to bed, my voice starts telling me, live for this moment. Just live for this moment. This moment is fine. You're worried about what's going to happen next month or next 6 months or a year from now or 5 years from now. Worry about today. Today's pretty good. You're in a nice cushy bed, still dark, roll over and go to sleep. Stop being a whiny baby.
Yeah, but we forget that sometimes. We live in the past or we live in the future, but we forget about like just being present and being okay.
Yeah. No matter what, I saw this statistic that is probably completely full of shit, but can I say shit on your show? Oh, well, thank you.
You just did. Yeah. I'll just mark it explicit.
Okay.
For the 2 swear words.
Okay. All right. I'll keep it to that. They say something like over 90% of the things that we worry about never happen. And we can't do anything about most of them, right? Yeah. And so if you can find a way to just flush all that out and just live for right now and say, wow, I'm home, I have a bed, I have a business, I'm trying to make it better, I have great people I'm working with, let's keep trucking.
Yeah. I want to talk about one more thing, thinking about the pandemic and how small businesses, I think it's had to ramp up to go online 7 years faster than they had planned on going digital, right? And those that didn't go digital didn't succeed. I've spoken to people who've also said there'll be 2 types of businesses in the future. Those who understand and how to use AI and use it to not take over the human side of things, but to help us do things faster, better, right? With the solutions that AI can provide, and those that don't exist anymore because they didn't. And this is a little bit selfish because I'm on the Small Business Council for Intuit, and we're going to speak to Congress about AI and small businesses in a few weeks, actually probably the week after this launches, so not too far from now. What would you say are some AI tools that you would recommend or ways to think about AI for people who are maybe they haven't come to you yet, but they are small businesses and entrepreneurs who are just trying to make sense of the myriad of options that are out there?
Yeah. Well, first of all, say hello to Congress for me. And secondly, for my thesis, when I did my MBA, it was called Born Digital, and showing how any company of any size could be selling all over the world using the internet, which was just starting out then. So I like to think that always looking forward on what's coming next. With AI, unfortunately, when you were talking about the course that you're putting together and everything, I was thinking, God, I hope she's using AI because it's going to be changing so fast. We're right at the very infancy of it. We don't know exactly what's going to happen, but it's going to be everything that we do. I mean, it's just going to be like electricity at some point. It's just there. And if you don't understand what's going on and you're not embracing it and finding every single way you can possibly use it, you're going to be doing things way slower than your competitors. You're going to be not having the advantage of the additional creative capability that you have really good creative people using things like AI tools. And so no matter what your business is, you need to learn about it. You need to embrace it because it's, it's like your cell phone. It's just something that you're going to have. It's not something you can put your head in the sand and say, well, I'll wait till this passes.
Right. Yeah. Awesome. Well, this has been a really fun conversation and educational. So thank you, Frederick. I've really enjoyed our conversation today. I'm going to go and provide these resources that you've given us, pitch.ideapros.com and funding.ideapros.com, to a lot of people to take a look at. So I'm very excited about that and excited to release this to my audience as soon as I can as well. Thank you for your dedication to the world of entrepreneurs and small businesses and helping the 95% figure out how to turn that on its head, right?
Yeah. Well, it's good. And to say that this was educational from somebody as prestigious as you, I'm very thrilled. Thank you.
Awesome. And is there any last thoughts that you want to leave us with?
Sure. Don't listen to anybody else. If you really want to do something, you have it as a passion in you, and you wake up many nights wondering why you're not doing it, take that first step and get it done. There's nobody that is going to tell you it's a great idea to leave your cushy 40-hour-a-week job and work for 80 hours for no pay, knowing what's going to happen next. But if you don't do it, at some point in the future, you're going to be laying there taking your last breaths, and the first thing you're going to think about is all of this stuff that you did not do. And don't let this be on the top of that list. Go out and follow your dreams and make them happen.
Can't think of a better ending than that. So, Frederick Cary, thank you so much for being on the show today. Really appreciated your time. And thank you to everybody who's watching or listening to this episode. I'll be back again with another amazing expert to share their advice with you. Want more? Check out amplifywithannika.com or follow me on socials at amplifywithannika.